Thrifty Apprentice. Happy Wednesday, everyone, and welcome back to another Thrifty review. In today's quick review, we are taking a look at Artwell Artist Gouache Paint Set. This is a 42 color jelly gouache set. Each cup is 50 milliliters, and they do contain caps on that. We're going to talk about all of that in just a moment. So, Artist Gouache Paint Set, water-based gouache paint, 42 colors, again, 50 milliliters. Paint cups with caps, Artwell. It gives their website that you can visit for information. It lets you know that the product is manufactured in PRC, which is the People's Republic of China. There is a warning that it's not suitable for children under 3 years old. They are non-toxic, and they do conform to the ASTMD 4236 regulation. There is no information on the back. As you can see, this is an enormous palette of 42 jelly gouache cups. I want to first start off by thanking Artwell for sending me this set to test and to review. With that said, I would like to let the audience know that in no way, shape, form, or fashion sways my opinion of the product. All of my reviews are non-sponsored. Even if I receive the product for free, I just do like to disclose that information just in case for some reason that has a weigh in on what you think I think about the product. But nonetheless, all my reviews are straightforward. If it is crap, I will tell you it is crap, and this is kind of simple as that. All right, so let's bust into this. It is latched together on 4 sides, and the clamps clasp really tightly, guys. I really love that. All of the clamps, let me show you, have the longer edge has 3 indents that actually latch down, and the shorter edges have 2 indents that actually latch down. So basically, that helps to make the entire package airtight, and that's very important, especially when you're talking about jelly gouache. Now, the top of the lid is lined with a foam mat. It's really squishy and soft, and it's there to help keep the caps of the jelly cups compressed against the cup itself. Again, keeping it airtight and locking in moisture. So that's what we have here. Now the lighting is going to change a little bit at this point because I had it lowered, but I didn't want it to reflect in the case topping too much. So the lighting is going to change in just a sec. So here, friends, we have 42 jelly gouache cups. The set included under the lid a sheet of swatches that contain the color names that's meant for you to put on top of the lids so you can reference the color that you're going to be using, because it is capped and you can't see through the caps. With that being said, I always suggest that you swatch whatever product that you're using on the paper that you use the most. That way you can have a really good general idea of how that product is going to work with your artwork. Okay, so I removed each one of the labels and put it on top of the corresponding jelly cup. The lid of each cup contains the color number as well as the color name. Now, this set does not include any pigment information, any light fast information, transparency, anything like that on the packaging or included with the package. Now, it is gouache, so you would expect gouache to be a more opaque medium, and we're going to get into talking about that in just a moment. So that is pretty much what you get when you look at the jelly gouache cups. Now, you can take each one of them out of the palette, and that's good in case you want to just grab a couple of colors. This is a pretty big palette, so you can just grab out the colors you need, set the palette to the side, recap it, you know, all those great things. Now, each of the caps latch onto the cup pretty securely, which works in combination with the lid that snaps down in order to have this whole airtight system, which again keeps the gouache moist and wet. Another thing that I really appreciate. Outside of that, that is pretty much straightforward what you get as far as the packaging is concerned. Now, the gouache itself was pretty consistent with one thing as I opened each one of them. And that's that there was a little binder separation in pretty much all 42. There may have been one or two that didn't have binder separation to it. So you can remedy that simply by just mixing each of the cups together. Now, I attribute that to the fact that possibly the product has set on the shelf. And shelf life can make a paint separate from the binder just a little bit. And then of course gouache is made of heavier pigments than your most standard watercolor, so it wasn't a big deal, but it was something that I did want to take note of and mention. But it does not affect the quality of the paint or the performance of the paint. You simply just mix it and you keep on kicking. So let's recap that and just set that back in. Each one of the paints are really bright and vibrant and pretty. Let's set this to the side because that's the packaging. That is honestly straightforward what you get. You guys know me, I really appreciate the simplicity. Now, I do believe that these are produced in mass quantity because as you can see, the Artwell information is simply printed on a sticker and then attached to the product itself, which is another reason I do believe that they are definitely a white label product. Made in factories in China, and it's not one that Artwell necessarily owns. Let's set that to the side. Give me just a second. That's a big palette to sit down, and let's take a look at some of the swatching. We're going to try to keep this review really quick because it's really straightforward. So here I swatched out all 42 colors. This is 140 pound cold press acid free watercolor paper. This is the Creative Mark reflection watercolor paper. You can get these books at Jerry Autorama or you can order them on Amazon. It's a pretty decent paper. I like it for gouache. This is actually my gouache book that I do gouache paintings and swatching and testing in. But I put down a black line in order to test the opacity, and for the most part the paints are pretty opaque. There's a little shift between wet and dry. And you know, it really just depends on the color. Some of them tend to darken a little bit. Some of them tend to lighten a little bit. That's kind of to be expected with gouache because typically all sets will do that based on the color. As you can see, they are pretty opaque. Some of them are more semi-transparent, semi-opaque versus being completely opaque. But that really depends on the coverage that you use and the amount of water and paint ratio on your brush. Now, the ones that I swatched that had a little bit more water on the brush as I was swatching it, as you can see, are a little bit more transparent. Those that I swatched that had a little bit less water in the brush, as you can see, are much more opaque. And of course, with it being gouache, the thicker or the more you layer, the thicker and the more opaque it's going to become. With gouache, I typically paint using like an oil painting effect. What is it? They call it the fat over lean, where you put your more watery or more leaner layers down, then you build on top of that. And that's kind of how I paint with gouache. So I paint my water layers first, or the most water layers first, and then I build with that thicker layers. Pretty nice range of colors. I love the greens. The greens are really, really pretty. Let's just flip over here so we can see the rest of them. The violets were pretty. There's not a lot of earth tones, I'm going to say, in the set, but there are definitely enough to do what you need to do. The white was pretty opaque, and so was the black. Actually, that white was nice. I did enjoy using that. You can mix it to make some really beautiful pastel colors with the other gouache, and it covers pretty decent as well. Again, opaque colors, really like them. I didn't find any qualms with the paint. It really reminds me of the standard jelly gouache set. The differences between this one and the other ones that I have really range with the size of the set, the fact that it has such an airtight system, which is better than any of the other sets that I've had. So I'm really not worried about these drying out at all in the palette if I don't get around to using them on a constant basis. But the quality of the gouache was good enough for me to want to reach for them on a regular basis. Now we're going to take a look at some paintings that I did. And with this set, I really was just kind of going gung-ho straight into reviewing it, because the God honest truth is, the difference between most jelly gouache sets are so minute that once you've used one, you've kind of used them all. The big differences comes in the packaging, the opaqueness of it, whether it is going to be something that's really watery, because you know some gouaches can seem really watery, whereas this one was really thick and creamy. It mixed really well. So I did mixing test in action of painting. That's why you don't see my regular normal mixing test. And I did not test these with salt. And the reason I didn't test these with salt is because they remind me so much of the Miami gouache set. And the performance in salt with gouache is pretty standard, I've found, across all of them. So, with that said, the first thing I did was a 2 composition page. All of these are going to be videos that you can find on the channel if you want to go back and check those demos out. The first one was just sort of a limited color landscape. I think here I used a cobalt blue, cobalt blue, ultramarine, white, and black to paint this entire composition. I really just wanted to get a feel for using the gouache, how the white mixed into the different colors, the different tones that I could achieve from mixing in the white, how they layered, did they work well, how they worked as far as being really watered down, using them in a more opaque watercolor fashion versus using them in a thick gouache consistency as you would expect gouache to typically be used. And that brings me around to letting you guys see the palette that I've had some of the colors dried out on, that you're going to see in some of the videos. So here I just kind of took a palette knife, dipped out some of the gouache, put it onto this palette, and gave it time to dry down because I wanted to see what the gouache would be like painting from reconstitution. They re-wet really well. Now what was surprising is that when this gouache dried down, they cracked, but they didn't crack nearly as bad as I was expecting them to, considering how like that Miami jelly gouache said it cracked so bad once it dried out. But these, they didn't crack bad and they don't fall off of the palette. I'm really shocked about that, which lets me know that if I wanted to pan these up into half pans, I probably could get away with it without having to add anything to the paint, and they would definitely hold in the pan. So that is a great trait, I think, to take note of. As I said, they re-wet really well once they were dried down. And, you know, gouache can tend, if you let gouache dry down, for some reason, it can tend to lose some opacity once you're re-wetting it. And I've noticed that with a lot of, you know, of your more student grade, budget grade gouache sets. This one didn't give me that. After re-wetting, it still held a lot of opacity. And I was still able to cover really well and build up because you could just simply spray what you have here with a water bottle, and it was really cool with re-wetting. That's basically what I'm saying. Here you can see I did lots of color mixing throughout the testing. Here's a purple that I mixed, which I more black tones that were mixed using burnt sienna and the ultramarine, darker shades of green from using sap and black. And you can, if you check out the painting demos, you will see a lot of that going on. Here was the gouache where I was using it in really watery washes in order to do it in a more opaque watercolor feel. And you can see there, after drying, they don't flake off. And that's like more water than paint. You know how it gets really thin? Now that one you can see it's starting to peel a little bit. But this has been days in the palette, and for the most part, none of that has cracked. Well, I have to say that's pretty impressive, considering how most jelly gouache react. You're gonna see a demo on the channel that you can check out no, this is in the same video, I'm sorry, where I kind of did this Christmas card front So if I wanted to, I can scan this in and use this as the front of a Christmas card. I think that would be really, really cool. Or maybe scan it in and blow it up 8 by 10 or bigger and use it as a Christmas poster on the wall for Christmas decoration. You know what? That may be a good idea for this Christmas. I don't know. That may end up on a behind the scenes real Patreon video. So let's see. Anything else? Nothing else in that book. And then the last thing that I painted, and I did all of this before I got around to the review, because you guys know I love to test a product thoroughly before I put up a review on it. So there's going to be a crafting video coming out in December at some point where I'm going to show you guys how I constructed this spiral bound watercolor sketchbook. Now this is one of those Grumbacher removable pages spiral bound sketchbooks, and I was tired of looking at the Grumbacher cover. No offense, Grumbacher, I just was. So I decided to repurpose the spiral bound book, and there will be a video coming out showing you guys where I kept this whole Knights protecting thing. But the inside cover for the book is going to be something that's done on camera with the creation of this sketchbook, and you'll be able to see the paints in use here. Now, I think this turned out really nicely. I really enjoyed using these gouache, you know what I'm saying? I felt like they just blended and mixed so beautifully. I was able to water them down and still get coverage as an opaque watercolor, and then use thicker layers of the gouache to build up on top of it to do my detail. I enjoyed this one probably more so than the peppermint or the landscape. And I was kind of trying to keep this whole theme mosaic, knight, castle. And I won't show the rest of this because it's some more done to this, but this is a whole video coming out on it in itself. I just wanted to really show you guys the painting because this was done with the Artwell gouache set. And for all intents and purposes, they worked really, really, really well. That's pretty much straightforward to set. I'm gonna just tell you, I like it. I've used many Artwell products. I have not found that there is one thing that I've used by them that I don't like. The original product that I bought was their 24 tube set, which I still think is an excellent value, especially how much paint you get and how bright and beautiful and saturated those paints are. They do crack in the palette, so add some glycerin to them if you decide to go that way. I'm going to say that forever and a day. But those paints, as far as the budget grade set go, a student grade set go, those are some really nice paints. And you can make up so many different palettes from them because it's so much paint. Their 24 half pan set, again, was a paint set that I enjoy. I actually kind of put it on the same level as my pretty excellent 36 half pan set by Mei-Ling. I want to pronounce that right eventually. And the 24 tube set I actually purchased before I had any type of relationship with Artwell, and I was impressed by those. Then once my relationship started with Artwell, the 24 half pan set and the 24 half pan glitter set. Now, the glitter set is pretty decent. I'm not a huge fan of glitter paint, but I think those paints are really beautiful on like colored paper, black paper, tone tan, tone gray, tone blue, tone green. I think those paints show up really, really well on those types of paper, and they would be beautiful in crafting projects. And now here is the gouache set, which in all honesty, I think is great as far as quality goes. So there are the things that I've created with the particular set. Now, let's get down to the nitty gritty. The paint set is currently, or the gouache set is currently listed on Amazon for $54.99, if I'm not mistaken. That's $54 for 42 50 milliliter gouache jelly cups, which I do not think is a bad value. I think that's pretty okay. Calculation redo. So that is $59.99 currently on Amazon for the 42 jelly gouache set, which puts it at about $1.42 a cup. Now let's jump over to Artwell's site really quick to see how much they are there, and I'm going to list both of them in the video description, so you won't have to go look. You can just take the link straight to it. But on their site, it's listed for $58.75, which is, you know, just like $1, maybe $2 cheaper, $1.25 cheaper. It's no big difference whether you get it from their site or whether you get it from Amazon. But, you know, that's not a bad price, I don't think, for the huge set. Now, you may find it going on sale at this particular point. It's around Christmas, so who knows? I will say keep a check on the link. I think for the size of the set, it's not a bad buy. Now, if you have gouache already, if you have jelly gouache already, I'm going to be honest, I don't think there's a reason for you to just run out and purchase this set. Not unless you just want a really big set, you know, of gouache. Gouache is mixable just like watercolor, so you can create many colors from a very limited palette of gouache. As you can see, for most of the paintings, I used, let's see, scarlet, black, white, yellow ochre, ultramarine, cobalt, burnt sienna, sap green, and Naples yellow. Those were the colors that I used the most when testing these, because I want to kind of try to pull colors from the different ranges. So I like them. I think that they are a great paint. Again, if you have gouache, they're not a necessity. But if you do decide to buy them, I do not believe by any means you will be disappointed. All right, guys, there you have it. Hopefully you picked up on something in this review, although I know it was, you know, kind of quick and sporadic and kind of all over the place. Don't forget to give the video a thumbs up. Share the video. Sharing is caring. Maybe someone else out there would like to hear the information on this gouache set. Hit the comment section up. Let me know, have you tried this gouache? If you have, what do you think of it? Are you interested in it? If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. I'll be more than happy to get back around to replying and answering to the best of my ability as soon as I can. If you're new to the channel and you haven't subscribed, or if you're returning and you haven't, go ahead and hit that subscription button, then hit that notification bell so you'll know when all of the content comes out, from the demos to the fields testing to the reviewing, and to just thought videos, whatever I may put out. So you can hit up the video description for all of the relevant links. You will get in the video description links for the product in case that you would like it. You're going to get links to other Artwell products, which is probably going to be the Artwell playlist, where you can see demos of Artwell products as well as reviews of other things that I have here in the studio. You can check out the most recommended product list, where you're going to get great quality products that are budget friendly and won't break the bank. Also, you guys may want to go back and check out the 2023 Artist Gift Guide. It has some great products in it if you haven't seen it. You can check out the links for the Etsy shop and the Patreon in case you decide to support the channel. Patreon membership is very economical and affordable. You get traceables for most of the demos that are done, unless they are just super easy to draw. For those people who don't want to have to draw, and you get a behind the scenes look through Thrifty Reels, which is a series that runs only on Patreon, where we do things behind the scenes. And for all my Patreon users, thank you for your patience as I get back around to getting things worked out on that platform and getting up new content. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Again, I hope you enjoy your Wednesday. And remember, as I tell you at the end of every single video, just keep painting and crafting.